It's the first show of 2019 here at To The Point, and we've got someone straight from Times Square here in our studio.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
All right, you guys, welcome on in to the first episode of To The Point with Kristian Burt here in 2019. And I'm so excited to kick off this new year with someone who was a part of the $1 million winning crew, The Lab. You've been here before, but this is your first time solo. Tre De Rego.
First time solo, yes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. And I do want to let everyone know, I requested Trey when we had The Lab on for the second time, and you weren't available.
Yeah,
So we got you solo.
Yes, that's awesome.
Even better.
It's exciting.
Yes, and I was joking with you straight out of Times Square. You didn't just fly over here.
It wasn't like an hour ago. Like it was a few days ago. But basically.
But basically, you rang in the new year in Times Square.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, because this is pretty epic.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you kind of grow up. Like I just remember all my life growing up, you kind of just turn on the TV and you see it. You see the ball drop. You see people dancing, singing, and it's something that you don't really realize how capable you are of doing it, and how, even though it seems so far away, how like you can actually do it. And just to be there and achieve it and just be dancing in the rain, it was just an awesome feeling. And it's something that I think even now, looking back, even though it was like a week ago, I still feel like it didn't happen. I still feel like it's
a dream.
Yeah, a dream come true.
And I think for a lot of dancers, performing at the Super Bowl and performing in Times Square on New Year's is a bucket list item.
Bucket list, for
You're now
sure.
16, correct?
Yeah, 16, yeah.
I love this. All right, so everyone's growing up before my eyes. I'm like, I
know,
think I met you
everyone's
when you were 14.
Yeah.
But that's pretty incredible. Like 16, check, done.
Yeah, it's super awesome knowing that, not even just with the dance, just with many other things, like let's say singing or music. Well, that's basically the same thing. But like, there's just so many different options for even kids to be able to achieve things that some adults haven't done yet. And that's just awesome that the arts are just providing so many opportunities. And there's just so many new opportunities with the way the world's evolving and with the new generation coming up. It's just exciting to be a part of it.
How was that weather? Because we did see that it was a downpour. Was it slippery on the stage at all?
Oh yeah, it was pretty slippery. It felt like we were like on like a slip and slide, but the surface was kind of rough, so it kind of equaled out. It was a little bit of like good friction, but it was kind of slippery too. So it was like a mix of both. It was like kind of like your hallway when you're in socks.
You are my favorite trickster. Did you have to curtail some of your tricks?
We had to, it's always whenever you're on stage, safety's always first, and you if you have room and you have the capability and the stage allows it, then you go for it. Go and do whatever you want to do. But if you have restrictions and safety issues, then you have to oblige and do what you need to do.
I'm glad to hear that, because well, it's funny. My image of you is just you flying over the stage and World of Dance.
Yeah, for things like that, when there's no restrictions, we go all out. We push ourselves to the limit. But when there's restrictions, you still you follow those guidelines, but you also still want to put on a good show and entertain.
Yeah, when we had Val here, Val Ramirez, of course, from the Lab, she was saying, you have no fear. You just go and you do. In a situation like that, if you had to do like a 540 on stage, would you have been fearful? Okay.
I wouldn't have been fearful of it. I think I would just be more excited to do it, just because I
don't have that gene.
It's I think over time, when I first started doing stuff like that, there was a little bit of like fear involved, but I think as time's gone forward, you realize how, yes, it's dangerous, but also the payoff and just the risk factor in it is what sometimes excites you. And that's just how it is for me. Like, doing those things on stage is fun, and like the risk of like, oh, like hopefully this hits, that's kind of a adrenaline rush for me.
Wow. See, I just don't have that.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
And you're younger too. I think as you get a little older, the understanding of fear.
You get some sense and you realize it's
because I think I was a pretty strong skier when I was a kid, and I would just go down the hills, not even worrying whether I was able to handle a bunch of moguls or anything else like that. But as I get older, I'm like, oh, okay, this is a calculated risk if I go down this hill.
I might get hurt doing this.
Maybe, you think about it a little bit more. So maybe I needed to learn tricks.
Yeah, I think it's because since I started with younger, I didn't really have that process of like, maybe I shouldn't try this yet. I think now at this age, I kind of like, some things I think in my head like, well, let's think about it. But like when I first started, like at 10 years old, doing those things, I wasn't thinking about it. I was like, okay, let's just try it.
Are you the kid that has had stitches like all over?
Surprisingly, no.
Most boys have it like under their chin.
Right, my dad has that. Yeah. It's like, there's no wood, but like knock on wood, I've gratefully never gotten like extremely hurt. I've just like twisted ankle, twisted knee, sprains, nothing crazy. I've never like broken a bone, stitches. I'm lucky enough to have never gotten hurt like that. But
knock wood.
Knock on wood.
Yes.
This is fake wood, not fake glass. This is wood.
Well,
This is
underneath
wood.
here, right here, wood.
This is wood.
Yes, we're going to be superstitious on that because we
Yes.
want you to stay healthy
Yes.
in 2019.
Yeah.
How old were you when you started doing tricks or learning tricks like this?
I remember when I was super little, right when I was getting into dancing in general. I started when I was around 5, but I'd say around the age of like 3 it was like the first time I like just tried something. But that was just like being a little kid, like, oh, let me just do this off the couch.
And
you
your
know?
parents are thinking, now we need to get you into a gym or a studio.
Yes, that's when I started getting into a studio, but I didn't really start like practicing and training and like tumbling and tricks like that until I was 10 years old.
Okay, so you're really good. You have a
Thank
natural
you.
ability, don't you?
Yeah, it was a natural kind of journey and process of going throughout. It kind of just started to come to me, and I think the realizing how easy it was just made me want to like keep going. I think that's how it is for a lot of people. When you like find something that you're good at and it's easy to kind of like progress with, you want to keep going and see how far you can go.
I'm just amazed just thinking about it. So when did you sit there and realize, because I consider it kind of like the signature Trey move when you're just like flying over everyone.
Yeah, it's for
How
sure.
old were you when you learned that?
I'd say the actual skill itself, I was around 12, 13.
Wow.
But I don't think to the extent of like going off of people and like going over things.
Desks.
Yes, that wasn't a thing until more of like this past 2 years. That's when like when we started doing NBC's World of Dance, that's when we started like elevating things and going over stuff, going off of people. That's when like the tricks started to get more intense, but the skills I'm doing is stuff that I've kind of known for a few years now.
And of course, you're still growing. Have you had to adjust a little bit because it's
Yeah,
hard?
it's been hard recently because I've been growing a lot more, and as I've gotten older, you kind of have to be a little more careful because you're not as like flimsy and like noodle, so you can't just smack on the ground and get back up.
Right.
But yeah, when you get lengthier and you weigh more, it takes more out of you to do stuff. So you just have to kind of like I like to once every few so often do everything I know just to make sure I can still do it.
Right.
Just so then like your body is adapting to it again. Let's say like I grew 5 inches, then I need to make sure like my knees are still able to like support all that new weight and still be able to do everything.
I don't think people realize too, timing is different. It happens to dancers and gymnasts.
Oh
And,
yeah, everything's different. Whenever you grow, you kind of have to. Sometimes it's just a natural process. You kind of just happens like without you thinking about it. But other times you kind of have to work for it, and you have to like adjust yourself to this new body you're in.
Right. You're like, timing wise, it used to go like this, but now I'm taller. So
Now I have to think about it different and not do what I'm used to. But
right. If you're counting in your head, it might be a different count
now
now.
you have to switch it up and just adapt to it.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
How old were you when you got to the lab and started training with them?
I was 10 years old when I got there.
Okay.
So when I started there is when I started.
You started doing
training
tricks
and
or your big tricks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I really started like intensely training with dance. I danced before that. I started when I was 5, and I kind of just like I was at studios, just training, just having fun as a little kid.
Doing mostly hip hop?
Doing hip hop, doing breakdancing, just curious as any other kid is that they just want to like do stuff, and I was just into it. And then as I started getting older, and once I got to the lab, that's when I kind of found like the passion for it, just seeing all the people around me and just being around it so much with this new team I was a part of. I fell in love with it, and it just took off from there.
Was it an instantaneous like fall in love moment when you got to the studio?
I would say so. I remember my first time walking in. I was walking into a hip hop class, and it wasn't a big class. There was maybe 10 people in there at most, and we're just in there. And the second I walked in, I felt like I didn't know anyone's names. I didn't know anyone there, but I just felt like I needed to be right there, and I felt like I knew them.
Felt like
And
home.
It felt like home, exactly. And then when we started dancing, I was by far not good at all, just all over the place, but it just felt right. It felt like that's what I should be doing, and that feeling's never gone away.
So did you start with like one class, and all of a sudden it's 10 classes?
Yeah, it was like it was like a 2-week, maybe a month process of me like taking classes like maybe once or twice a week there. And then after some time they went up to my mom, and they were talking about how they wanted like to add me onto the team. And that was awesome because like when I first got there, that was like in my head. I was like, well, hopefully I can.
This is so cool.
Yeah,
right?
I was like, hopefully I can get onto this team. And then it took like a month of me just taking classes and for them to like notice me in the studio, and that's when they asked me to be a part of it.
It's a big deal. I love what you guys have at that studio.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
awesome.
the
It's so
environment.
awesome.
You guys are all incredibly polite and smart and talented.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank
it
you.
really is. It makes a mark. And, you know, every single time I've interacted with you guys, I'm so impressed. I walk away
Thank
going,
you.
I want to be more like that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we've learned a lot from our families and a lot from them too, just from everything we've been through. And yeah, directors, parents, family, siblings, each other, dancers, just how important it is to try to be as good of a person as you can be, no matter what, no matter what success comes your way, no matter what downfalls, just to always stay yourself.
And I think something that's been really interesting, and I've seen it on my side, in 2018, I featured so many young dancers under 18 because we had Dancing with the Stars Juniors, we had World of Dance. It was really an incredible time. And besides the audiences wanting to see more of you guys and learning more of your story, it's really fascinating to see how you guys are all handling the fame, the social media.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure on you guys at times.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes it doesn't get to your head, but sometimes you start to realize that you kind of have a job to do because there's so much pressure on you, but it's also your job to know that that pressure is put on by yourself, and you need to just not let it get into your head and just take it with pride and do the best you can with it and
Make good choices.
And do good with it. Do good with the people you have and lead them in the right direction or inspire and just do good for them.
Yes, so many people look up to you. It's incredible because I had Sean and Casey on this year. And Bailey was in here before the end of the year.
Yeah, so many people look up to all of them, and it's important for everyone to just stay level-headed and stay going in the right direction.
Yeah, and your followers, they're great. They slide into my DMs, and they're like, I think because I get to sit next to you, so I'm very fortunate. And they're like, we love Bailey or Trey or Sean and Casey.
Yeah.
And they want to know, what are they like in real life? I'm like, they're fantastic. This is why I continue to feature everyone on the show. But the fans, that's what I love too, is the fans that follow all of you are so sweet.
That's one of the best parts, just knowing that you're doing what you love and it's reaching people that you never thought you'd be able to. I never thought I'd be able to reach people, let's say in the Philippines or just anyone in general. You never think when you start out that you're going to be able to inspire other people because you are once inspired and you still are. But just to know that you're doing that for other people is one of the best parts about it.
And what inspired me, I have to say, is how the lab and all of you together came together as a team, took what you learned in season 1. And I loved when I had you guys on after season 1. You weren't disappointed. You said this was a learning experience. We were out of the cut. It happened. And I was like, I'm mad. I thought you guys should go on. You guys handled it better than I did. But the way you prepared for season 2, you treated your bodies the skills like you were in the Olympics.
Yeah, that's exactly how, even as of now, we're still training as if they like to call it the Olympics of dance. After season 1, we kind of recollected our thoughts and realized that if we wanted to go at it for another time, we needed to come back a trillion times better. So we upped our training, upped our mental game, upped everything we could just so then we could be prepared coming in again.
Look at how tiny, wait, that was season 2. If we go back to the other photo, then look at how tiny you guys were. Season 1, you were itty bitty.
So tiny.
Because that was January, February 2017, if I'm correct.
That was 2 years ago.
Right.
Wow.
Unbelievable just to see the growth.
Yeah.
How did you feel? Because obviously you grew. You were 10, I believe, for season 1, and then 15 in season 2 as a crew.
Yes. We grew in numbers.
So how did you feel when Val approached saying, I think we need to add some numbers?
I really liked her idea of adding on people because more people means more obviously more dancers on stage, and more dancers means more strength and more volume, and it fills up the stage more. And I was just glad that we're gonna have more, and more is always better. And once I got to find out who the people were, a lot of them I already knew, and so I loved those people already, and so it was awesome to add more people into the family and just more people to tag along with this great experience.
Now you had 2 itty bitties up there in front, and
yes, the 2 little ones.
The 2 little ones. Every single time that I saw them, right there, the front row. I was amazed at how they were keeping up with what you guys were doing. And some of you were 15, 16, 17 at that point. That's a big age span when you're about 8 to 10.
It's still crazy to all of us just to know what they went through with all of us. Because even for me, like, it was one of the hardest experience I've been through with dance and just with the intensity of everything. And to know that someone half my age did the same thing, no problem, is it makes me like, oh my God, I need to step up my game. And they were just very willing and ready to go, and they just pushed their hardest to match up to us, and they did it so well. It was amazing.
Would they get tired? Because they are younger, and sometimes I wonder if situations were overwhelming to them.
There's times where you kind of, your natural kid energy comes out, and they'll just like keep going, like how kids run around for hours. Sometimes it's like that, but then sometimes it gets down to like they're still young, they have tiny bodies, so they can't exert as much energy as we can. So it comes down to points where you need to realize like the age difference, and you need to cater a little bit. But they didn't do it often. They just try to push them up to our level, and they did that every time. So they were treated like adults, basically. We were all treated like adults in the whole process.
Well, I think Val does that too. No, were you assigned? I feel like she said she assigned one little person with a big person just to check in every once in a while.
Yeah. It was more of a, not like a verbal like cue of like, okay, this is your kid.
This is your kid.
This is your kid. Even though I call like AJ, he's the one that had the mohawk. I called him like my son, like my kid. But
I love it.
Yeah, he was kind of like my kid. I would like check in on him and make sure he's always on his A game. And if he's ever feeling down, I would always try to talk to him and just try to motivate him even during practice to keep working hard and keep pushing.
Is AJ my little like groover in the front all the time?
He is. That's him.
I went back and rewound every single lab routine because he'd be in the front and he'd just be
Grooving
feeling the
out,
music.
feeling
And
it.
I'm like, he is so into that.
He's amazing.
It really
Crazy
is
talented.
incredible.
Yeah.
And so talk about the regimen you guys had in terms of getting ready for season 2. You knew you were on the show, but I believe Val was like, this is the nutrition plan. This is the
Yes.
sleeping plan.
Yes. It started, the nutrition and the sleep didn't start right away, but we started preparing for season 2 in November.
Okay, of 2017.
In 2017.
Because you taped in 2018.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we started preparing in November. That's when we started learning material and starting to get into it. And then once we got into the end of November into December, that's when like the diet came in. That's when, because there would be times where we'd come from like a little break, like from Thanksgiving break, where you have time to eat and all that. Where
Christmas cookies.
Yeah, where we'd come back and we'd kind of be a little slower and a little draggy. And that's when they realized like we need to like have better like nutrition, a better diet, so then our bodies can function a little bit better and smoother and operate better all together in like the mental game, physical game. So that's when it started happening it was more in the beginning process of it all. So kind of throughout the whole process of the show, even in while we're competing and dancing, that's when the nutrition wasn't like a job for us. Like it didn't feel as much of a task because we were already used to it from the preparation before.
Right.
So just the only like task during was just the actual dancing and all of those challenges that were all right there. But the whole like diet, nutrition, and sleep was already a challenge we faced in the beginning.
And you have to get all the parents on board too.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't be like,
Yeah,
you can't slip your kid a candy bar.
No, yeah, you can't. It's just as hard for the kids as it is the parents, because the parents have to make sacrifices too. They have to get their kids to the studio. They have to supply those healthy foods for their kids, because it's easy to just go to McDonald's and get a Big Mac on the way back home.
Yeah, I like a good In-N-Out burger.
Yeah, me too. I had it before I got here. But yeah, it takes a lot of sacrifice for the parents to be willing to just go in it with their kids. They're kind of competing too in a way, because they're doing their own things that I don't even know where I'm going with
Well,
that.
it takes time out of their own lives too.
Right.
If they're working,
Yes.
or preparing for the holidays, whatever it is,
Yeah,
they have
exactly.
to make sure
They have to kind of like put their lives on hold, no matter their jobs. They have to put everything on hold. Their other kids, they have to put it on hold, so then they can cater to you and what you need, because that's kind of what you need when you're going through a process like this. And yeah, kudos to the parents, because it would not have happened without them.
That's
Even
right.
during the process, being in the hotels, parents had food ready. It was awesome.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
The support means a lot too, because you need,
yes.
you need to get physically to point A to point B, but you
Yeah,
also need the
but-
emotional support.
Yes. It wouldn't be possible. You need every element of everything. You need health, you need the skill, you need the support from your friends, family, coaches, teammates.
Yeah. When
It
you have
all
a
comes
bad
down to
day,
it.
you need someone to go, buddy, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, you need
Here's a
someone
hug.
to give you a hug, pat you on the back, but then kick you in the butt and send you back.
Now, how many siblings do you have? I know you have a sister.
Yes, I have 2 sisters.
2 sisters. How were they in this process? Because I know one of your sisters, I think it was her senior year and everything. So there's a lot going on.
Yes, one of my sisters is a senior now. It was hard, not even just for me, just for everyone, because you spend so much time away from home. I rarely saw them. There'd be a good, let's say, month and a half where I wouldn't see them. And during the process of it, it was hard, But I think it was harder after, just realizing how much time was lost and how much of their lives you kind of missed out on. Same thing with like your parents and all that.
Yeah.
Well, for me. But then you kind of realize, and they were so supportive of me. Like they would send me texts like before I competed, like thinking about you, good luck, all the time, and
You
that
need
just
that.
meant the world. And then just after being able to rekindle with them and just like share the experiences, and sometimes my sister would be able to come and watch. Once in a while, she'd be able to come to one of the tapings and watch me dance, and that meant the world. Just to know that they still got to be included in some ways, and I still got to see them sometimes.
Oh, that's good. I just want to throw out to anyone, if you are in the Southern California area and they're taping World of Dance, it's a long taping day. I'm not going to lie. But the stage is so cool and unbelievable and amazing.
It's
They've
awesome.
moved sound stages too for season 3.
Yes, they
Yes,
did.
it's the backstage area is huge.
Humongous.
Yes. Oh,
Humongous.
I don't think I'm allowed to say, but I was like, yes, you've seen it, haven't you?
I've seen it. Yes, that's all we can say.
That's
I've
all we
seen
can
it.
say. You've seen
I've
it.
seen it.
I was like, nope, I can't.
Yeah.
Because we did a set visit and we saw, we met the new host, Scott Evans. That is
Yeah.
out. That is public. That is allowed to be
Yes.
seen.
Yes.
We visited with Derek and Neo. So it was, but to see the way the cameras move and
Yeah,
to see.
it's a whole new setup. It's pretty similar to the last season and the season before, but it's like every season they're getting better, and they took it to a whole new level this year.
Yeah, there's some exciting things to come. I can't tell you guys what, but there's something with the duels that I think really
Yes.
elevates it to
Yes.
another level. And I also think it makes the competition a little more fair. And
It does.
when that
It
is
does.
explained, this will all make sense to you guys. But I
Yeah.
appreciate that they did this.
Yeah, they really listened to the feedback they were getting the past 2 seasons about specifically that round, and sometimes with the people that were being eliminated. But
Right.
they listened to the feedback and they did what they could to make it a little more fair.
And it's good. It's really good. So, and I heard that, I didn't see that run, but I heard a lot of people say that it was some of the most exciting moments of
Yeah.
the entire
Oh, yeah.
season. So I think there's some really good things to look forward to. I want to talk about choreography because I think the lab took choreography to another level for
Yeah.
things that it just was one of those. If I watched that Lemon, it was Nerd, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
If I watch that routine one more time, I mean, my laptop is probably going to burn out because it's so good. We do have it up here. We'll play it. And we had played it when Sweets and Logan and Val were here after you guys won, but I felt like if I didn't bring it up again, because there's a couple major tricks in here that you do.
Yeah, that was for sure, for me at least, one of the most intense rounds of like my body just being pushed to the limit, because there's videos all over the internet of like times where I've fallen doing things
Boom.
like this. Yeah, there's so many moments of just so much risk, and this was when it kind of all got pushed to a new limit. This is when I think that's the most intense I've ever done anything.
Yeah, and I think Sweet said at one point in rehearsal, you kind of went over one of the desks and were like, I'm good.
Oh yeah, it happened countless times where I fell on my back, fell on a desk, and then we just got to get up and keep going because there was no time to kind of sit there and like worry about it. You kind of just had to move on and worry about it after.
Well, and there's so many technical elements in making sure not only that the desks move, but that the backpacks move.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yes.
they're on your back. Sometimes you guys are flipping over them.
There's so much that went into it. It was almost like the dancing was what we got out of the way first.
And there we go. Boom.
Yeah, the dancing was almost the secondary, because we kind of had the confidence in ourselves to be able to execute the dancing. So we got that out of the way first, and then we coordinated, okay, the desks moving, the backpacks, the tricks.
The signs.
You spend more time on the more difficult and tedious things because we had a confidence built up over the years of like, okay, we feel like we'd be able to execute the choreography in itself. Now to add to it, we need to work on those things more.
I've got to imagine some of the rehearsals were a little tedious because
Yeah,
it has to be. You have to be over here by 4. This has to happen on 5.
Yeah, there's times where a good multiple hours were just spent on, okay, they count, they move the desk, stop. If you're not in the right spot, do it again. Stuff like that, or like an hour or so just on the desks coming down at the end. There's so many different parts, or even the backpack getting thrown. There's so many different parts that just took so long. But I think that's what's the beauty of it in the end, because not everyone sees like the whole process. Any routine you ever
Right.
see, some do have a long process, some don't. But it's beautiful to see like the outcome of everything, even though
we did this.
Yeah, you got to experience it, and in the moment it feels so like dreadful and tedious. But then once you watch it back, you realize like, I don't regret any of that.
This is a routine, and I think I go back to season 1 and I think of Keone and Mari and some of the routines that they did, and we'll always remember it. I think from season 2, this is going to be one that people will go back to over and over again. And when we were initially breaking it down on World of Dance on AfterBuzz during the season, I said, everyone, start watching everyone in the background. They are under the desk. They're moving the backpacks. Watch what they're doing.
There's never a time on stage where you're just like breathing.
You can't zone out in that dance.
No, you can never zone out. If you zone out, you might miss something. So you have to you have to be focused the whole time, ready to go, do what you need to do. Even if you're not dancing, you're moving something. You're helping. You're doing something to stay busy and help the whole picture.
Unbelievable. This was a Dietrich's piece, is that correct?
Yes.
So Dietrich's really added a whole other element to the choreography.
He really elevated Val's vision of what she wanted, and he just took it to a whole nother level. And the concepts of his choreography, the tricks he put together, the props, everything he added to it just made it so crazy and just elevated to a whole nother level.
I actually hope that he submits this and several of the other routines for an Emmy nomination, correct?
Yeah, I think that's happening. That should happen.
Yeah, that should happen. It won't be now. The cycle won't be until May 2018 for the submission, but 2019. I don't know what year it is.
Yeah.
May 2019. But I do think that this is some of the best work I've seen out of him. And one thing, he's already an Emmy winner, by the way, but for Quest Crew, but he understands how to choreograph for the TV and the cameras.
Yeah, he's become very good and aware of like stage on film, on TV, because he's won America's Best Dance Crew with Quest Crew twice now.
And he did So You Think You Can Dance.
And he did So You Think You Can Dance. So he's had so much experience in front of cameras and on dance TV competitions. And so he kind of brought all of his expertise in for this and just gave all the advice he could. And yeah, it just worked.
And choreography-wise, I don't think Dietrich's got a lot of play, but Sienna also does a lot of...
Yes, Sienna and Andrew Elam, they had more of the actual dancing choreography. Mm-hmm. They did most of that, and he did more of he did the tricks and the kind of the whole build of the routine. Like he'd say, okay, we need dancing here. We need the transition here to go into the trick. We need the props. He did more of that, and then if he didn't like a piece of choreography, he might change it himself, or he'd have Sienna or Andrew change it. But they had more of like the dancing parts. That was Sienna and Andrew. Even for all of the routines, it was mostly them. It was just the whole concept of the whole routine and the build and the tricks was what he did.
And that's good to know, just because it's not just one person. Yeah, it's a team.
Yeah,
and
there's a whole creative team behind all of it, and credit goes to a lot of people for many things. Everyone was great for what they did. Everyone did something different and contributed in their own way.
Without their contribution, it wouldn't look like this.
It wouldn't have happened. Yeah, everyone was needed. Everyone's contribution was needed to be able to pull it off.
And the other piece that I pulled up is we played the song at the beginning with "Waiting on the World to Change." That was divisional final.
That was
it was world final.
That was the world final.
World final. Yes. I'm correct. Mm-hmm. That was divisional final for the desk one, and then this is
the
world final.
Yes.
And the thing I loved about this aspect of it, I love that you guys came in with so many different levels this year.
Yes.
You hit us over the head, then you do a softer piece.
Yes. It was, this year we really wanted to focus on our variety. We felt like last season, season 1, that we kind of came in with the same attack mode every single time, just like the whole like aggressive, angry, mad face. We're here, like all super aggressive, but we wanted to show our variety and different sides of us that no one ever knew before, and that really started with our routine based off of Leilani and her story. That's where it started for us, and just from there, we kind of kept going. We wanted to keep pushing ourselves to new limits and just to keep opening up in different ways and just exploring our art form and just kind of expressing ourselves in ways we never knew we could.
And I love this because there's a ton of props, and again, if a prop lands in the wrong place,
it messes everything up.
And you can't go back to the beginning. Oh, is that AJ right there in the front?
That was Aiden.
Okay, so that was Aiden who was like, yeah.
We're both insane.
I love that moment. Oh, let's do a couple tricks there. Okay. No big deal. How did you feel in the world final? Because you know what's at stake at this point.
Yeah, it was one of the weirdest emotional roller coasters I've ever been on, because in the moment of it, you have the feelings of so many things are at stake. If I miss this flower, if I miss this, if I don't grab that, then we don't win. We don't win the entire show we just worked our whole year for. But then it's also the feeling of we've worked so hard up to this point. we've done all the work. Now we just need to enjoy it. It's gonna happen. Even if it doesn't happen, it's okay. We did our best. And in the moments right before, I speak for me. I can't feel what everyone else is feeling.
Right.
But for me, in that moment, I wasn't worried. But it wasn't like, oh, we're gonna win. It was just a breathe.
We've rehearsed this. Muscle memory's there.
No need to stress. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. That's how it's meant to be. And this is a moment, and you just gotta live in it.
Yeah, I wonder what for the little ones. Did they understand?
I can't imagine what they were going through in their head. I don't know if it was okay, what's going on, or if they. I'd like to think that they were aware because they're extremely smart, talented kids. I feel like they were very aware of what was going on.
They knew. I think they knew the stakes, but I wonder.
Yeah.
As you get a little older, you're like $1 million. Like,
I think for a lot of us, it was the money in the end was never really what was in our eyes because, once again, we're all really young, so we barely like have money ourselves, so we don't really
you have to ask Dad for a 10.
We don't really know the concept of money as adults do, and so the adults in the competition have a better understanding of like what the reward is and what the risks are. And for us, it was kind of like we just want to do our best and spread light and do our best and spread messages to the world. We didn't know the risk of not winning the money or winning the money would do. And especially for them, I think they still don't really know like how much that was and how much
it's a lot of zeros.
Yeah, I know. Even for me, like I've never had to deal with that much money, so you kind of don't know until you see it. You don't really understand how big of a deal it is till it's there.
Right, and we've talked a lot about this on the show, and I don't know why they don't talk about it on the show, but there was a prize for winning divisional finals of $50,000.
Yes.
And I asked when I was visiting season 3, I said, "Are we going to tell people that they win $50,000?" Because I think for an audience member to know, oh, okay, even if they didn't come in first, they walk away with something really wonderful.
That'd be interesting for them to add it like into the series of the episodes, just kind of inform the viewers. I think that'd be nice just for them to know that it's not just the winner that's getting the payout or the reward. You're getting rewarded throughout the process for your achievements throughout. And I think that's what was also great is, yes, you didn't win first place, but you still get a reward for being there and going through everything they went through too. So you still get a reward too. I think that's awesome.
I think it's great. I hope that they do. They didn't have an answer for me when I asked when I visited in the fall, but they said maybe, and I'm like, oh, please do, because I think that the fans of the show would love to know something like that.
Yeah, I think they'd really like to know.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Well, maybe they'll know now.
Maybe they'll know now. I know. We've talked about it with Melvin, too, when he was here for S-Rank.
Oh,
Of course. And Michael Demesky, he was been here, too.
Yes,
so I'm like, have we had everyone? Yeah, I think we've pretty much had everyone on the show. So it's good. In terms of what happens next, because when you win $1 million and then, of course, you can't talk about it, how do you keep still focused? Like, we have to go back to the studio. We need to keep training. We can't rest on our laurels.
Right. No, even throughout the process of the show, we even had thoughts of the money then, just knowing what would happen after. And we never, even if it did happen, we didn't have any plans on like savoring in that money and just like, okay, now we can kick back.
I don't have to work hard anymore.
Maybe not dance for like a few months, maybe half a year. It
Eat
was
a
just
donut.
More. It was just more of a, okay, we have this. Now we can use that to help others and just keep moving forward like we've always done. But now we have the support behind us that we can use for others and maybe ourselves if we need it. But it was more of a, okay, now it's there. Not like, okay, let's use that.
Right.
So
and everyone's not going out and buying Gucci belts.
No. Yeah. It's not like, okay, now we get to splurge all this money and buy all this expensive stuff. It's more of, okay, now we have money to give back or give to our own dancers if we need it. It's there. It's not for us to just savor in. It's just there now.
That's good, though, because I know you, especially everyone at the lab, really wants to give back to the community.
Right. It's never been for them about the money or the payout that they get from things. It's about evolving the dance community and their community at the studio and the kids. And that's still the intention. So the money that they have is just going more towards whatever's needed for others, for them, if they need it once
Family
in a
goes
while.
through hard times, can't pay for lessons.
It's not, it was never intentionally made to be for themselves and just to be savored in. And I don't think that's ever going to be what it's used for, no matter what.
That's good. How have things changed? Because certain things have changed. You got to perform in Times Square.
Right. Yeah, I think it's been more of a change in mindset more than anything for any of us. I'd say for me personally, I think it was the day after the last taping, I went to a video shoot for a job, And it's kind of that feeling of like, now you know that, okay, I can achieve things if
I'm in the right place.
I'm in the right place. I'm doing what I need to be doing. And if I apply that hard work into anything else I do, then maybe I'll get outcomes like that with everything I do. So then it kind of switches your mindset into a new gear of like understanding that, not that, okay, I did the hard work. Now I won. Now I'm chilling. Now that hard work, I need to apply that to everything so I can get results like that in every aspect.
That's pretty incredible. It's a good mindset because a lot of people do.
Yeah, it's very easy to just think like,
It's
okay,
easy to slide
well,
in. The ego takes over. It just happens.
You're like, well, I won. I did my work.
Yeah.
What else do I need to do now?
And that's called being human. Like people do have moments
it's
where your
not
ego, and
yeah.
we've all had those moments, and you have to think, no, wait, I have to ground myself and realize what this is about and how I can utilize all
How
of this
you
for
can
good.
use that for good. Exactly.
What other opportunities has the lab had from winning?
We've done, I'd say to sum it up, we've done a lot of traveling, which has been awesome. A lot of people have had their first plane rides this year.
That's
and
great.
Yeah, it's been a lot of traveling. So like for example, we just went to New York for Times Square. We went to Florida. We went to Washington D.C. Yeah, we've just been doing a lot of traveling recently. We have more traveling things in the future. So it's been a lot of being able to go to different places and just like connect with people there and fans and supporters and just people that love us. And it's been awesome.
I love that because, you know, you do deserve a little bit of fun and doing something like New Year's
It's
Eve.
awesome to kind of like on these trips and let's say on the plane, you kind of realize like, whoa, we worked for this and like we get to, in a way, enjoy it. But still, you have a job to do once you get there, but you get to kind of enjoy the work that you've put in, just to know that there's more work to put in now after too. But you kind of get to enjoy a little bit of what you did, which is nice.
Fruits of your labor,
Which
as
is
they always
nice.
like to say.
That's nice once in a while. Not all the time, but I think it's healthy to do it once in a while to still like remember that you should get some reward for your hard work.
You guys are kids. You guys have to have fun.
Yeah, have to have fun once in a while. Yeah.
In terms of competing, are you guys still competing? I know you've done Hip Hop International.
Yeah, well, it's public now, but we're going to be competing at Vibe Juniors pretty soon.
Yes.
And
when is that coming
It's
up?
February 10th.
Oh, really soon.
Yeah, it's coming up. So again, like the Olympic training, we're getting back into that. So, yeah, that's the next thing I know about, and that's gonna be exciting. But yeah, they don't want to take a step back from competing just because of the show, because that's understandable. We won another competition, and we're kind of going back to the same thing, but we're just being more like we want to elevate anything we go into. Let's say like people might say, well, why are you competing again? You already competed and won. And it's not about the winning part. It's about the whole, we like the team as in general just loves the environment, the being on stage.
Competition's fun.
It's fun, and it's also just the wanting to get back into it and just like proving to ourselves that we can still be the same people we were before and still compete and still be the same dancers and people.
Do you feel pressure? I've got to imagine there's a little bit of pressure.
I'd say there's a lot more weight on and more risk than there ever has been with anything we do now. Let's say it's not even a competition, if it's a performance, you have more expectation for anything you do, just with like the reputation you have now. So you can never show up and not do good, which is a little scary to think about, but then you just have to trust in what you can do and just with the training you have. And so like for this competition coming up, it's gonna be hard because we have to remember that the last thing people thought about us competing was winning World of Dance. So we have to match up to that and even go further than that.
Yeah, that is a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, but I think
that's
kind of what the lab works best off of, working off of pressure and risk. That's what we're known for.
You guys have that edge. I like that.
Yeah.
What would you like outside of the lab? What would you like your 2019 to look like?
Yeah, well, starting off in this year, in March, I'm going to be able to start traveling and teaching, and that's what I've always kind of been setting out and working for. So in 2019 is where I want to be able to really venture out on my own and start teaching and just like spreading my movement to others. And I think that's awesome that I'm going to be able to be getting those opportunities this year. But yeah, hopefully that year is filled with teaching and sharing and spreading and whatever else comes with it.
How do you describe your dance and teaching style?
It's I've talked about it with some people that share a similar style. It's kind of a mix of everything, and it's called urban. It's very
like urban dance.
Urban dance.
Yep.
It's very new. It's kind of something that's just been decided on the name a few years ago. So it's
we talked about it with Keone and Mari when they were here.
Yeah, Yeah, I've asked them about it. It's a style that's a mix. You can find elements of hip hop in there. You can find elements of contemporary in there. There's so many different elements in it, but you can't kind of like distinct it as like, oh, that's a hip hop routine. You can say, oh, this part looks like it's originated from hip hop, but there's so many different elements to it. And I think I've always had such appreciation for not just hip hop, because I've done not like as well trained as I am in hip hop with other things, but I've ventured out into like contemporary salsa, ballet.
You told me you had a ballet class or two.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
so I've always appreciated not just hip hop. I've appreciated the other forms of dance, and just to be able to kind of incorporate everything I know into one is just awesome. And I think that it's a super cool thing to learn, because you kind of get a taste of everything if you go into someone's class like that. You don't like, you might think you're doing a move, but then little do you know you're getting a little bit of background into hip hop, and then contemporary into another style, into whacking, locking. So it's awesome to kind of incorporate everything into one.
Everything's a real hybrid these days, which
Yeah,
is
I think
really
that's
incredible.
it's just a hybrid of everything, and I think that's what everything really is now, and that's awesome. Everything's kind of fusing together.
I was thinking, like, even on So You Think now, when they're like, this, I'm contemporary, it's almost hard to even say that, because there
Yes.
are elements of so many other types
Yes.
of dance. Hip hop, of course. I always think of Fiction. Fiction to me was always such a lyrical dancer.
Yeah, he's I think of like Lex too. He was here too, right?
Lex, yes.
He has like a fusion of like contemporary and hip hop in one.
I love
that's-
watching Lex dance.
Yeah, me too.
And if anyone has the opportunity to see him live, if you have, at any time, if he does Shaping Sound again, I saw him on tour. I saw him in the tapings for So You Think. It's pretty
Incredible.
unbelievable
He's
to watch.
insane.
And he still dances ballet. By the way, he just did Nutcracker down in
Yeah,
Orange County.
right,
So
right.
he's still keeping up those ballet chops.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Who are your mentors? Who do you look up to?
I have I think there's a wide variety of people, but like I look up to so many different people. But the ones that I work with are, I work with Melvin.
Love Melvin.
I work with Dietrichs. And yeah, I kind of go to other different people all the time. But I'd say like just people I look up to in general are like Ian. He's
Ian
been here.
Eastwood.
Keone and Mari, look up to them
Yep.
a lot. And yeah, just people like that. I just have so many different inspirations. Like Lex, I pull from so much and inspired by so many. But I think Dietrichs is one of the main ones that like I'll find my inspiration from others and kind of just like share it with him. And he'll kind of like see it all and kind of like try to shape it up. And
He's like, I got this idea.
yeah, so then he'll kind of like, I'll share with him all these things I like, and like, oh, look at this, I like that. What are these moves? I want this type of movement, and he'll kind of like clarify for me like what I'm thinking, or like what I'm like trying to go for. And so I think he's one of the main ones for me that's really been helping me this year and past year.
I could see that too. I can see you guys bouncing ideas off of each other.
Oh yeah, like always on car rides where we'll be bouncing ideas, or even like at his house, just like sharing ideas. He'll share his with with me.
With you.
Yeah, with me. And yeah, it's just awesome to have someone to kind of bounce ideas and input off of.
So you're at this age where you have to start thinking about graduating from high school at a certain point, right? And are you thinking college? Are you thinking straight into dance? It's a big decision.
It's a big decision. I think it's a decision that in some cases you kind of have to go through it to kind of figure it out, because it's weird to say, but let's say like you get hurt, you always have to remember, which some people say like, if you have a plan B, that shows how much you believe in plan A. But just to be safe, you kind of have to have a backup just in case. So I think it's good to kind of prepare yourself to be able to go into college. Like for me, I'm like the classes I'm taking now, I'm prepared to go into college if dancing doesn't work out for me, but I'm also ready to
work professionally, or continue to work professionally.
Yeah,
You're already
and
working
to
professionally.
Continue that, but then also if at some point it stops working out, or I can't physically do it anymore, just to get into other things or step back onto my education and maybe pursue that now. So I think it's just good to kind of have your hands in everything, just kind of ready to go with anything. I think that's the best way to put it, just to kind of be ready to go any which way.
Are you homeschooled right now?
I'm homeschooled.
Yeah, I think most dancers now.
Yeah, it's become a and I wouldn't say easier pathway, but in a way it's a little more manageable, because you have more time to focus on your dance. But then with that more time with your dance, that means that you still have to input that same amount of time with school. So it becomes a weird balance. It becomes harder than you think, because when you have school from like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., that's school. You go, you do school. But then when you're at dance at 8 a.m., then you have to do like school at 12 p.m. and then you have to do school later that day at 9. It kind of throws you off. So you kind of have to just like, it's more of a mental game with yourself, just being determined enough to get it done yourself.
It's interesting talking with all of the working dancers that are under 18 and still are required to go to school because we had JT Church in here and he said, I did a couple months of homeschooling and it wasn't for him. And so they found a school that did kind of half day. And then other kids find that they don't love school and so they love doing homeschooling and then they love being on set because...
Yeah, it's very different for everyone and it's kind of, you can't really say, well, you should be doing this.
You have to find your way.
You have to, like, in a way, you have to experience it yourself and kind of test the waters and see what works best for you. And for me, so far, homeschooling's been one of the easiest things for me because missing like 2 weeks or even on season 1 of the show, missing a whole 2 months, that was hard for me to be able to kind of just catch back up. Even though they gave you work, it's not the same catching up to what you were left behind on. So kind of still being able to be in your school setting on set or doing whatever is easier for me and it's more manageable.
And if I remember, you're a good student, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Always.
You're like, hey, that's great.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the thing, too. I think dancers sometimes think, I don't love school, so this is my exit. But education is so important.
I think that's always, for me, even before, like, I was really, like, passionate about dancing, school was always first. And so I've always kept my effort in that as high as I did with dance. But I think as I've gone forward with dancing in my career, I've noticed and realized how much more I'm leaning towards this side, but still remembering that, but this is still a priority too, no matter what, even if you're getting paid crazy amounts and you can make a living off of making a living like an adult makes, even as a kid, you still have to remember that's still a priority by law and just in general.
And it should be a priority. And I wish that this, especially artists don't always understand, it is show business. There's the business attached to the show.
Exactly.
But you need to know how to balance your checkbook, manage your money. If you're making a lot of money, what do you do with it?
How do you manage it? What do you do? What do you pay?
It's exciting to like go and buy a BMW, but maybe you need the Toyota Prius or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Just to be really smart about it and not go crazy and make sure you're putting money away for retirement because this industry shifts so crazy at moment to moment. Sometimes you have health insurance, sometimes you don't, and you have to make sure those things are taken care of.
It can switch in a second, and just being prepared for anything is, I think, something that school, not in all cases, but it's good to still be involved in school because it kind of prepares your brain and your mind to be able to deal with situations that you might not be able to deal with if you didn't go to school.
Yeah, and things come back around in ways you don't even know. I was someone who loved school too, but when I went out to dance professionally, I found that I was burnt out, not interested in dancing anymore. Yeah. And I thought, well, I've always been a good writer and reporter and things like that. And so it led me back here and it led me back to dance. Right. So you don't know how.
Yeah. So it's always, again, it's always good to just have your fingers and hands and everything just ready to go no matter what. You'll still be able to go any which way you want and still be like satisfied with what you're doing.
It really is. It's such a. I'm so glad that you think that way because it really will serve you well as whichever direction your career goes in. Because
when you get older, you'll realize because it doesn't take too much to do it now to really experience it and savor it later, and you'll realize oh, good thing I did that.
Yeah, you'll be happy you put some effort into your education.
Right. Exactly.
Here's what I want to know because you're 16 years old. Bucket list. Okay, we've crossed off Times Square. I've got to imagine Super Bowl's on there.
Super Bowl's on there. That'd be an awesome thing to do.
The Lab's not doing it this year, are they?
No.
I didn't know if you're going to drop a bomb on us.
No. They would be good. That'd be awesome.
Wouldn't it be fun?
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
It's in Atlanta, too. It wouldn't be crazy.
Oh, that'd be really fun.
Yeah, it's not like snowy or anything.
Yeah, hopefully that happens soon. That'd be awesome.
Just put it out there.
Now it's spoken into the world. Maybe it'll happen.
What other goals do you have?
I'd say the only goal I have is just what I said about 2019 was just being able to share and teach and inspire. I think that I've just kind of been going with the mindset of not really having a specific goal, but the goal itself is just to be open to everything and be open to moving forward. And
would you work for an artist? I know sometimes like a world tour is a lot of dancers. Yeah,
that'd be awesome. Again, I'm open to a lot of things. I just really want to grow and just continue on a path of just growing and learning, and whatever comes along with it, if it aligns up and it all meets up with my purpose, then yeah.
You're still a couple years away, but I bet you get this question from time to time. So you think you can dance? Would you do it?
It's a question that surprisingly happens to me a lot more than I expected it to because it's a thing where you kind of I couldn't say yes or no, because at the moment I'd say
If you were old enough to audition in next month or in March when the auditions come up, would you?
It's weird because I would like to say yes, but then it's also a no, because I think it kind of depends on where I'm at and what I'm doing, because if it calls for it and it's kind of leading me in the right direction, then I'd love to do it. But if it kind of like leads me off and like takes me off track for a whole year, then it'll kind of like miss my goal of like continuing to move forward.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends on where I'm at when I'm 18. If it aligns, then that'd be awesome. I'd love to do it. I've watched it since I was little, and that'd be awesome and fun to do. But if it doesn't happen, I understand too that everything happens for a reason.
And you don't have to do So You Think to make it in this industry.
No,
We do
no,
know
no,
that.
yeah,
but
yeah.
I
You
think a
don't have to
lot
do
of the So You Think fans would probably love to see you on this show.
Yeah, it would be a fun experience. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's a fun show. Even behind the scenes, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
I've heard from the people that I know from it.
Yeah, Lex. Lex, no big deal. Wait, he's going to drop a name. Lex. Lex is great. And
He's great, yeah.
What I love about Lex, too, is that he's evolved even since he won the show.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things with anything, with any form of like winning competitions. It's just, it's very important and awesome that what you did in that moment, but it's super, super important what you do after and how you manage yourself and what you do with yourself after, because that's when it really starts. The journey starts after the other journey ended, is when the new one begins. That's what we like to say, especially with the lab. Like, winning the show was the end of that season and that journey, but it was the start of a new one. So with anything like that, that's just the start of your new journey on to more things and more growth. And I think he's been really good at it. And a lot of other people have been really good at
Coco.
Yeah.
There's certain seasons I always hold as benchmarks. Season 4, when you look
Right.
at Twitch's season. Season
Exactly.
10 has a lot of working dancers in the industry.
Oh, yes.
And season, oh yeah,
Fiction's one of them.
Fiction.
First
Amy's
season.
been doing Broadway.
Yeah.
We can go on and on with that entire
Yeah, yeah.
cast. And Jenna, of course, Jenna Johnson. But season 14, I really feel like they made a huge
Yes,
mark on
they
the
did.
dance industry.
They did. Everyone's just been evolving, and just, I think especially that year, there were just so many innovators that were on that season, and there's just so many, and they got so much notice and so much publicity that was
And a diverse cast.
Yeah, very deserved, and they're all very diverse, and so now there's a lot more out there, more movement out there, and I think that's awesome that the dance industry just keeps growing.
I know. I love it. I'm looking forward to season 16. And maybe we'll see you. We will be what, season 17, 18 maybe?
Maybe.
Maybe.
You gotta stay
I'll
tuned.
keep my
and
eyes open on that.
maybe it'll happen, maybe not.
Maybe.
We don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming in. I'm so excited that we got you here all by
Yes, thank you
yourself.
I had a blast. Thank you so much for
I
having
know.
me.
We're going to keep your eyes on your career and what's next with the lab, too.
Yes.
Excellent. For people that want to follow you on social media, where should they find you?
You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Tre De Rego, TreDerego.
And he's promising to tweet more
Yes,
in 2019.
This year I'll be more active on things like that, and then you can find me on like YouTube and Facebook at just Tre De Rego, just my name, TRE space DE space REGO.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
Come back anytime, okay?
Oh, please have me anytime.
All right.
I'd love to be
It's
back.
a deal. All right. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us here for the first episode of 2019 here on To The Point, presented by Dance Network and Popcorn Talk. We will be back next week with someone from Dancing with the Stars. See y'all next week.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.